Hello, everyone. It is Sunday night, and we are live here at Bat City Comic Professionals in Bradenton, Florida, to talk to you about all of this week's indie and small press new releases as we wind down your weekend. As always, I am your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann, here to talk to you about whatever delicious wine we're drinking and all of the amazing books that we read. So we are going to jump into all of that in just a minute. First things first, before I even take a glass, I have to say happy birthday to my mom because it's her birthday. And so if you're watching, Mom, happy birthday. And if you're not, I know you'll see it later either way. So when I take a drink of this wine, just know the first one is for you. And since we are going to toast to my mom, we are drinking today. This is a Belposto wine, and it is Montepulciano D'Abruzzo. Can never say. D'Abruzzo. There you go. I was like, we just learned it. This is an Italian wine, obviously, and it is made of raspberries and blueberries, which I'm really excited because you don't see a lot of blueberries in wine. It's supposed to be a soft, velvety tannin that has a long-lasting flavor. So we are going to see what that tastes like. Oh, that's so different. In a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. That's good different. The concept of adding the blueberries, which are usually kind of the acidic kick in most things, actually cuts down a lot of what feels like the big acids on wine.
The flavor lingers.
And you get more of it as the moment goes on. So this is, it's supposed to be clean and lively, fresh with hints of juicy raspberries and blueberries. And it does say long-lasting, warm berry compote finish. So, which are all things that are true. I do feel like I get all of them. It's interesting, trying to do just this smell thing. Because you really kind of only do get the smell of a berry. It's not like some wines where you can taste, you can smell all the oak or all even the pepper taste to it. This one, you kind of can only just smell berry.
It's very clean.
Mm-hmm. They're not wrong about that part at all. Oh my gosh. I'm going to sit here and just drink this entire bottle and not talk about comics because I'm and then this tastes like this. I'm
this is our first Montepulciano.
Yes, this is our first of those. And then, of course, because it's this city, this is supposed to look like the city in Italy. And I just see this tower right here and all the Twilight fans. Just reminds me of New Moon and the tower that Edward comes out of in Italy. So I'm oh, this is where the Volturi live. This must be the wine that they drink when they're not drinking blood, because that's what vampires drink. Also, I don't know why I assume that vampires drink wine when they're not drinking blood. Maybe because it looks like it. I don't know. But this is obviously how that works. Especially if you're a sparkly vampire. If you're a sparkly vampire, you could totally drink wine. I'm going to possibly share this. Yeah, there it is. I'm going to share this with everybody, and so they can join in and hang out with us. Oh, that's my sound that I thought was off. Sorry, everybody. All right, so I'm going to slide this over. We're going to be drinking this all throughout the night. If you're drinking anything with us, even if it's your favorite chocolate milk or I don't know, what do people drink? It's Christmas time. So if you've made some great Christmas concoction that is your favorite thing, if you have a favorite holiday drink in general, I want to hear what that is, because I know this is the time of year where people love those warm drinks, something toasty. Or you have all of the holiday parties, and so I want to hear what your favorite holiday drink is. Doesn't have to be an alcoholic drink, just a drink in general. Share your favorite holiday drinks with us, because I love hearing about it. And speaking of things I love and that people should hear about, if you missed it this past weekend, yesterday specifically, we had a great time welcoming Santa Claus pretty much all over the area. Yesterday morning, we were out at Fernona Gourmet Cafe, which is just a couple of doors down there, part of the Old Manatee Historic District, and they were welcoming Santa Claus in with the Grinch, so they had breakfast with Santa and the Grinch going on, and we were out there with Segunda Vida and Loving Hands and Vintage Vine providing crafts for all the kids who came. So Vintage Vine had rock painting, and then you could like give your rock to Bradenton rocks to hide around the county. Segunda Vida was making these like cool reindeer pine cone, reindeer palm trees and like reindeer pine cones, all kinds of cool things that were upcycled from nature. And then Loving Hands, one of their amazing volunteers, Lola, baked cookies literally for like 4 days and then made all the frosting and everything and then brought all of those things together so that kids could decorate their own Christmas cookies. It was so cool to see. And then we made little Grinch cut out gingerbread men, so you got to color your own Grinch and then put them all together and assemble the pieces to make your own Grinch, which I love that we made those Grinches and then the Grinch convinced every child to put it on the Christmas tree, and so now the Christmas tree at Vernona is completely decorated with little handmade Grinch, like gingerbread men looking things. We also made a giant sign that said all the ways that we were going to be working to make the Grinch happy and help his heart grow 3 sizes, and that is actually going to be hanging up in our classroom or in our kids section, one of the two, for the rest of the season, so that you can come in and add your ways that you can help make the Grinch a happy person and kind of make the holiday season a little bit brighter for those who may be feeling less up to the occasion. And speaking of vacations, we've got stuff coming up. Oh, before I even go to that, we also had the great opportunity to welcome in the holiday season in Sarasota last night with our buddies over at Dark Side Comics and Games in Sarasota. They had us come and participate in their float and their group walking through the parade. So it was so exciting. Thank you so much to Brian and Darkside for having us out there. There was thousands and thousands of kids and parents and grandparents and just people who were so excited to see Christmas and the holiday season get started. And so really excited to be a part of that. And to all of our cosplay friends that we got to see, and to all of them that came with us, a special shout out to Alicia and Aster and Barrett who marched in the parade, coming straight from Bat City and going and helping out, and to all of our Bat City Bat fan members who also just signed up and went. It was just so cool to see so many people there and get to be a part of that. We're really already excited for next year. That was the whole conversation back, is everybody trying to decide what we could do to help out next year. So we'll see how that continues to grow. And coming up this week here at Bat City, we've got Ladies and Non-Binary Nerd Night this Thursday at 8 p.m. It's a fun hangout session. Come chill with us, talk about all your favorite things. There'll be snacks and stuff for everybody who shows up. It's just a lot of fun. It's a come and go, so just come hang, chill. And then Friday night, we will actually be closing at 7 p.m. And at 7, we are switching over to a private shopping night just for our subscribers. So if you have a pool list or subscription with us, however you normally refer to that, you are welcome to come out and bring your family and friends for a special Friends and Family of Subscribers shopping night to kick off the holiday. And it is a potluck dinner. So feel free to bring your favorite dish, your favorite drink, your favorite dessert, whatever it is. That's going to start at 7 and it's going to go throughout the night. So come and join us. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Those are always some of my favorite days. And then Saturday, continuing our extremely fun holiday season, we will be over at the Bradenton, Relays Bradenton's Winter Wonderland. It's going to take place downtown. It's the big city Christmas holiday experience. And it is from 5 to 8:30. We will be in the kids zone. We will have some comic creation stuff going on. We will have some of our crafts out there, and we will be reading stories to the kids. So come hang out and be a part of all of that. It's going to be fun. I know the Bishop's going to be out there. The Manatee Public Library System's going to be out there, and so much more going on, not just for kids, but for the entire kids of all ages kind of bracket. If you're excited for the holiday season, you definitely don't want to miss Bradenton's Winter Wonderland this Saturday at downtown. That said, We've got a lot of comics to go through, so I'm not going to take too long, but I am going to take another drink of this amazingly delicious wine. And honestly, I'm just doing it because it's amazingly delicious and not because I'm already thirsty. And shameless plug, but if you missed it this week, while we're getting these comics ready, a huge shout out to TEDx Bradenton for letting me participate earlier this year. That has now made it online. It is actually on the TEDx YouTube. So if you can actually search TED and my name, and you will actually find that speech. It's all about how to use comics, how to teach comics to young students as a way to find their voice and explore their creativity. So definitely check that out, and thank you for everybody who already has. So since we're going to talk about comics and how great they are, let's just jump right in. So we've got What's the Furthest Place from Here, issue 16 from Image Comics. And we are in the arc where we have finally been learning what is going on. And so if you have not read What's the Furthest Place from Here, this is the story of a post-apocalyptic world where kids are living on their own, and once you turn 18, you basically have to wander off to die because a sickness takes you and you can't grow up in this world. And so much like the Warriors, all of the kids have created their own gods, and they've created their own tribes, and they're like, if you come near our area, you know, this is our family, this is where we protect this zone. And one of the girls at the very, very beginning was pregnant and has no idea what any of that means, but just assumes that it's something to do with the sickness that she's getting. So she wanders off because she knows she's going to be aging out soon. And we have had a million issues of us trying to find her and figure out what's going on. And now, as readers, we have found her, and we are learning everything we never knew about the world, what happened, where the city is, what's going on in the city, and whether or not adults could actually exist in this world. And the twists and turns that Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg have taken to build this story have just been absolutely fantastic. And so if you haven't jumped in, I highly recommend that you check this series out immediately. There are, of course, trade paperbacks to get you started, and then you can jump into this arc that we're on, because it's just so solidly good, and I feel like we don't talk about it enough in general. Grimm, issue 15 from Boom Studios. This is the story of a girl who works as a Grim Reaper, and one day while she's bringing a person who has passed back to the afterlife, he steals her scythe, and a lot of hijinks ensue that actually lead her to find out that she is very much connected to the whole entire process of the afterlife and everything that goes into it. And now we are in a lot of trouble because nobody can die on Earth, and there's only one person who can put it all back together. And of course, that is our main character, Jessica. And Jessica and her ragtag team of heroes that she has assembled have been crumbling apart over the last few issues, and now they're at the point where they have to learn to band together, and they are actually in this issue kind of starting to learn how to do that. Meanwhile, we are seeing the Fates, who appear to us as three different drag queens, telling us all about what is going to happen, and maybe that it's time for other people to step in and kind of take over how death gets run. And we're going to see how this plays out for everybody as we end this arc, and kind of coming up to probably in the next issue, and maybe see where this would lead to another one. Kaya, issue 13 from Image Comics. This was actually one of the Ringo Award nominees for Best Series for Children and Best Cartoonist, and absolutely deserved. This is such a great all-ages series about a young girl who always thought that she was supposed to be like the chosen one of her people, only to find out that she wasn't, and it was actually her little brother. And as issue 1 opened up, she was on a mission to get her little brother to the place where he could be trained in all the appropriate magics to save their world, which has basically, like, their home has already been destroyed, and the only way to rebuild it is to get him trained by these magical people. And of course, everything and anything that can go wrong does, and so Kaya and her brother's adventures have continued for 13 issues as they try to figure out what's the easiest way to get there. And of course, we know in fantasy worlds, there's no easy road that you can take. And so they've met some really interesting people along the way, and their adventure is just now heating up as we are coming into a pirate zone, and we are going to need some help from some very surly characters. Not to be confused, we also have Kara, the Guardian of the Realms, and this is issue 10, and it's from Busy Entertainment, and this is also one of the best all-ages single-issue, like, indie comics on the shelf right now. This is all about a young girl who is the protector of the realms, and she has this magic flute, and she lives in this world where she can talk to animals and plants and help things grow, and she works with the elders who are, like ancient owls and things like that. And she is a human who doesn't realize that there are other humans until two boys come from the future and land in her place, and they say that they need Kara's help in order to save their future. And one of them is going to do that at any cost, and the other, of course, is trying to do the right thing. And we are seeing how all three of these paths, plus the human world in the modern times, are all going to intersect. And we're getting really close to our climax of this series, and you can tell because, as Kara has learned, you can't necessarily trust everybody, even though you want to believe the good in all things. And so we're going to see how that works for her and how that lesson is learned. Darkwing Duck, issue 10 from Dynamite and their new partnership with Disney. This is for all of you who are fans of the caped winged crusader, as he is. Darkwing Duck, the terror that flaps in the night, is now the story that warms your heart in comic book form once again. And over the last few issues, Launchpad has been missing, and somebody stole his compass, and Darkwing has had to find him, and the only way he could do that is by teaming up with and relying on the Justice Ducks. And if you know Darkwing Duck, he doesn't play well with others because he's got way too much of an ego to share the spotlight, but he is going to have to do that if he wants to save Launchpad, and he is having to take on all of the allies. And this leads us underwater in this issue for a last possible resort, where he is going to have to team up with some people that he absolutely swore he never would. And it is it's just, honestly, it's the same as watching an episode of the show. If you are a fan of this, it reads exactly the same, it looks the same, it feels the same, and it gives you the same warm, fuzzy feelings by the end that every episode did. And honestly, if you've never seen Darkwing Duck, A, it's on Disney Plus, so go for it. But B, if you never saw it, pick up the comics. Honestly, you probably would enjoy it, especially if you like parodies of things like Batman, and you want something you can share with kids of all ages. Local Man, issue 7 from Image Comics. This is such a fun book, and I have so many people who are saying that, like, I even had a guy today that said for the first time in 20 years, he's subscribed to a new series, and it's this book. And the whole reason why is because it basically takes all of those 90s Image comics and gives them a modern twist. Like, what if one of those, like, Youngblood or, Wildstorm characters was suddenly just tossed out of their group and left to go home, and they have to have that experience of, like, you can't go home, nobody's going to accept you. What if that was the case? And we follow a guy named Crossjack, who was in fact a member of one of those organizations, and now he has gone home, and everybody hates him because they hate what he did. Like, they hate that he left the town, they hate that he represented the town. And in the last issue, or in the last arc of the story, he was able to stop somebody. Now, he's not supposed to do any kind of superheroing at all, but in the last arc, he took on some superheroing anyway, and he saved the day in a classic detective form instead of true superheroing. And now he's kind of having to deal with the fallout of that and investigations of where this all really actually goes. And in this issue, while investigating, he is drugged, and so it's really funny because he is constantly, like, confused about, like, who he's talking to. He can see, like, the letters, the word bubbles and stuff suddenly become something he's aware of. He's just having all kinds of problems, and we're also seeing the girl that he loved as a teenager, who he left behind when he became a superhero. She lives there, and she's still kind of living her life, and she wanted to be the hero for her town, and we're learning how that may have played out. And if you really want to learn how that played out, you flip the book over, because every issue is actually 2 issues, and so we get Local Girl on the back, which is her story of what happened after he left her, and how she was able to build what she wanted to build or not. And I love this one because it does start with her saying, like, I really want to help this town, and somebody's like, well, then get out there and do it. And every time she's like, I'm going to do this to help the town, they're like, okay, but like, that's too much, you need to calm down. Like, and she's just trying to find the right way to find her helping point. And if you are reading the story, you know exactly where she's kind of ended up and what that's led to. And if you're not, it's a great time to jump in, because you can get that first arc and read it all at one time, and then you can continue on the story. And again, if you're a fan of 90s comics and you want to have all of those conversations that you've ever had with your friends about 90s comics turned into a story by people who also like worked and read and enjoyed 90s comics, this is the way to do it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures issue 7 from IDW. Much like Darkwing Duck, if you are a fan of Ninja Turtles cartoons, this is the book that you want to pick up. If you have kiddos who just saw Mutant Mayhem and they're looking for a Ninja Turtle book that's for them, it's this one. It's not the regular IDW title. It's the Saturday Morning Adventures one. And in this issue, they are canceling St. Nick Con, which is actually like a real thing where all of the people dress like Santa Claus and take over New York City. This is a thing, and the city is like, we're not going to let that happen. Meanwhile, Shredder was supposed to be finding a new sword that he could use that would help them destroy things. And now that his secret plan, which was to dress up like Santa and go through and during St. Nick Con, has been destroyed, Shredder has a new plan, and he uses one of Krang's duplicating machines to make millions of copies of his costume that they hand out and say, if you're worried that Santa Con is canceled, don't worry, Shredder Con is on. And he uses everybody in the world being dressed like Shredder as a decoy for him to attempt to find his thing. And it's just so funny to see the turtles actually getting out there and trying to figure out which one is Shredder and which one isn't. And you just get the classic hijinks. And I love that there's even a line where they're like, if we don't figure this out, this is going to be one of those things that comes back to haunt us 100 pages from now, isn't it? The fourth wall breaks in here are always just fantastic because they are so reminiscent of everything you expect from Ninja Turtles. So if you haven't grabbed those, you can really kind of jump in. This second series of it is more of an ongoing. It's like the first one, they didn't know that they were going to have the popularity that they do, which is crazy. I don't know, IDW, why you didn't think bringing the Saturday morning cartoon version of Ninja Turtles into comic form was going to have that success. But they originally started with just like a little anthology, and it was so huge they've brought it back as like an ongoing, and now we're actually getting an ongoing story that is still really episodic like the TV show. So you can kind of jump in anywhere, but you might have little pieces that tie into things to come or things that have already happened. Wild's End issue 6 from Boom Studios. This is our wrap up of Wild's End, and if you haven't read this yet, this is War of the Worlds in an animal run world. So this is literally, we're at the end, so we are fighting lamppost looking aliens who have taken over the local fishing harbor village while the fishermen were out to sea. And when they return, they find that everybody has been mind controlled to just kind of fall in line with what these lamppost aliens are looking for, what they're doing, whatever it is that they're trying to build. And our ragtag group of sailors has been trying to figure out a way to stop that in the best way possible. And they have finally figured out their mission, and this issue is really just them enacting it and trying to take down the aliens and leading us towards, can we defeat them, or is it already much too late? And you're going to find out as you read the series. It's only 6 issues long, so I highly recommend, if you're looking for a good miniseries and you are a fan of War of the Worlds, like, that's definitely a good one to pick up. It's also going to be a great companion if you're trying to teach War of the Worlds. Grit and Gears, issue 6 from Blood Moon and Panico Press. I got to meet the Panico Press division of Blood Moon, that publishing branch, imprint at New York Comic Con, and they are all fantastic humans who are so excited about the stories that they're building, and they should be, because they're building such good ones. And this issue 6 of Grit and Gears is the end of this story, at least for now. And this has been all about an automaton who was built as a sheriff in like the Wild West to try to keep the peace of everything that was going on. And we have seen that since that happened years and years and years ago, that now the place that we are at, we have lots of them who don't follow the rules of robotics and who have kind of taken over and who are terrible, and the humans want to destroy all of them. And so he has come back to basically stop all of the evil robots from taking over the people, but also from stopping evil people from being evil. And we've seen this really beautiful story of his maker and the family that she developed, not only in human form but in robot form, and the ties that bind him to them and everything has just been absolutely wonderful. And I love these great speeches that we get towards the end that's like, what's the difference between them and us, and there's evil on all sides and there's good on all sides, and we have to learn to see that. Very much like a iRobot kind of way, where you want to, kind of hug Sunny a lot of the time. You're going to get that from this, but in the Old West. So check it out. Count Dante, the unauthorized but sort of true story of the deadliest man who ever lived. Issue 6, Scout Comics, also our wrap-up, or is it kind of moment. This is based on the guy that appeared in comic books in the ads back in the 70s and 80s. Count Dante, the martial artist who was supposed to be one of the greatest martial artists ever, and all of the schools of kung fu that he taught and up in Chicago. And this is somebody coming and interviewing his former partner and best friend, who is like telling the story of what actually happened. Like, was he actually the deadliest man? Did he actually fight Bruce Lee? Did he actually fight Chuck Norris? Did he go against all these other people? What happened to the dojo that y'all led in Chicago? What were going on with all of the dojo wars? Like, is this real? Like, is any of this real? Honestly, this wrap up was so good. And when this series first started, I was like, I don't really know if this is going to be the book for me. And then I slowly, as like we went through the last 6 issues, have found myself putting it like closer to the top of my read pile like every time. And I'm not going to lie, like this was after the number 1s, which I read on Tuesday, this was literally the first ongoing past number 1 book that I read this week, because I was like, I really just want to know how this ends. Like, I've got to know like what happens, because I've been so invested in Count Dante's life. And honestly, like, if you find me at like the library looking up real books about Count Dante soon, don't judge. Like, way to go, good job, comic writers. You've made me actually like invested in this person that I didn't even know really existed until like the 3rd issue. I was like, how much of this could possibly, like, this seems too real to be like not really like an unauthorized true story. Like, that could be just like a fake thing that you put, like they do on, the Blair Witch or like the Paranormal Activities. Like, did those things really happen? But like, I thought that was the case, and then I was so invested I had to look it up, and it turns out it really is actually a thing. Sirens of the City, issue 5 from Boom Studios. We only have 1 more issue to go, possibly ever in this series, or at least in this story arc. But this is an urban fantasy about a girl who finds herself pregnant in the 80s and is like kicked out of the home that is her adopted home, and because they're not going to worry about her baby and all this stuff, and she finds herself on the streets, and she learns that the world is actually filled with more than meets the eye kind of situations. There are incubus and incubi and succubi and all kinds of like vampires, werewolves, everything. Wouldn't be an urban fantasy if we didn't have all the fantasy creatures in the middle of the city. That's how this works. And so she has learned her role in all of that, and why it matters that she's pregnant, and where all of this is going to take her. And she is leading us to a major war of all the creatures indirectly, whether she wants to or not. And I cannot wait to see how this all plays out. Again, it said like at the end, like it was like to be, oh no, it didn't say to be concluded. I was wrong. It says next chapter. Okay, good. It does. It says to be concluded on the last page. So hopefully it's just this arc is concluded and we get more, because these characters have so much more that they can give to us, but we'll find out after that next issue next month. Swan Songs, issue 5 from Image Comics and W. Maxwell Prince, the creator of Ice Cream Man. And this one does only have one more issue. W. Maxwell Prince has already posted that on his Instagram. But this is all about people and their endings. This whole series has just been an anthology about the way people deal with different things in their life coming to an end, or themselves coming to an end, or the world coming to an end. And I honestly don't know why this didn't, I totally forgot this issue, or I would have stuck this in my picks of the week probably, because this is all about a man who goes to a therapy session and he's trying to figure out how he suddenly finds himself like unable to enjoy anything. He's like, I know that I used to like these things, and I know that like this library meant everything to me, and this experience used to be everything, and now it's all just kind of things that pass me by, and I don't really know what it is. And so they hypnotize him and they put him into this trance, and he goes into his mind and experiences all of those things all over again, and he has to find basically the last time he remembers truly enjoying something, and he meets that version of himself, and the experience that they have together is not what he wants it to be. And you know, he ends up asking the kid, he's like, what is it that you love most in this world? And the kid's like, everything. And he's like, no, like, what do you like? And he's like, everything. And he ends up describing like all of the things that this adult has said he used to feel like were great things but can't enjoy. And it's like everything he thought he didn't like those are the very things that like the kid likes. And just the way it wraps up is so W. Maxwell Prince of it all. But it's such a beautiful thing, and I almost want to spoil it, but I really don't at the same time. But it has this very almost It's a Wonderful Life kind of feel. If you made a really like eccentric, like deep thought, like esoteric, like off the wall version of It's a Wonderful Life, this would be it. And seriously, I messed up. That should have just been in my picks of the week. So but the next issue is going to be the last one of that, and he's already said that you can call it an Ice Cream Man crossover. So which is the same thing he did with HaHa. When he got to the end of the HaHa miniseries, he was like, hey, just so you know, this is all connected to Ice Cream Man. He's already saying that the next issue of Swan Songs is going to be considered part of Ice Cream Man, and it is like where the Swan Song ends, and so it's got that Shel Silverstein cover set to go with it. Speaking of books that I went back and forth on whether or not they should just be in my picks of the week this week, we've got The Ribbon Queen, issue 5 from AWA. And Garth Ennis really wants you to know that he's sorry for how he treated women in The Boys, is what I feel like is happening right now. Between his Creepshow issue and The Ribbon Queen, I feel like he's like, I'm giving back all of the energy that I didn't give to women in The Boys. And this series has been about a detective who finds out that a woman who was supposed to be under the protection of a couple of men in her force has been killed, and the people who may be the problem are the very men who are supposed to protect her. And she's learning a lot about that, and as she's learning it, a lot of people are dying in the most horrific way. And she learns about something called the Ribbon Queen, who is a woman, a supernatural entity that comes to protect women who are being mistreated, specifically by men. And she is dreaming the backstory of the woman who is the Ribbon Queen in this issue. And so we go back to the time where raiders stormed into a home and killed all of the people and were attacking all of the women. And two sisters, I'm not going to show you the end, two sisters try to escape, and one of them ends up going into this haunted forest, and they basically say that like it's known that nobody makes it out of this forest, and this forest will tear you to ribbons kind of situation. And we see how the Ribbon Queen is born, both physically and metaphorically, in this issue. And oh my gosh, if you don't read the entire series of this issue of this book, you should just read this issue, like, because it does just tell that story, like the detective falls asleep at the very beginning and then it just is that story, like until the very last page. And if you just wanted a good one-shot horror story, it's right here in this. But then if you are reading The Ribbon Queen, this is definitely going to be the one that like you're like, oh my god, I've been waiting for this issue for so long. And also read The Ribbon Queen. Quest issue 4 from Image Comics. This is the story of a woman and her husband who on their wedding day, 3 major demons show up and steal the husband and say that they'll never see him again. And while the two, the kings and queens of the ruling countries that are marrying off their children that day decide they're not going to do anything about the new prince being taken, the princess is not in favor of that, and so she sneaks out in the middle of the night with her own personal guards, and they have been on this quest to find her new husband and the soon-to-be king of her world. And they have found the home of one of the greater demons, just as her father's men have found her. And she tells them, you can either go back to my father and tell him that you left me behind, or you can help me fight this greater demon. And now they are hoping for the best. We'll see where this goes, but she is determined to find her husband, and she's not gonna let him go without a fight. And I love that. I love that, like, they were, like, betrothed, and she, like, didn't really know how she felt about him, like, when they were, like, assigned to marry each other as kids, and now, like, as they've come to adulthood and they've gotten married, she's like, I will literally burn this world down for you. The Schlub, issue 4 from Image and the KLC Press imprint. This is Ryan Stegman doing the writing on this book, which is not something we see too often. But this is about a guy who is complete and total loser, and not in the lovable kind, but like he hates his job. He is like thinks everybody in the world is out to get him. He is always victimizing himself. He hates his family. He thinks that his dad is awful because he's rich and he doesn't give him all his money. He thinks his brother's awful because he's better looking than him. Meanwhile, we have a superhero who is kind of like your Superman-esque character, and he crashes into this guy's dentist's office, and they switch bodies in the process. And now this once godly superhero and this, unlikable dude have switched roles, and they are now both forced to go to the other one's family experiences. And while they've been like, I'm the only person who has a hard time, I'm the only person who could ever have bad parents, I'm the only one with dad issues, things like that, they are actually seeing that walking a mile in another person's shoes is not really that different sometimes. And no matter how many things that you think you're going to do right, and no matter how often you try to impress somebody, sometimes they're just not the right people to have in your life. And sometimes you just have to grin and bear it and grow in your own way. And I hope we're going to see a lot of growth from both of these characters coming up soon, because they both had these moments of trying really hard in this issue, and I hope that they can find a way to keep that going. King Kong the Great War, issue 4 from Dynamite. For all of my King Kong fans, if you didn't know there was an ongoing series right now, there is, and it is all about a group of soldiers who find themselves landing on an island that's mysterious. They don't know anything about, and of course we know exactly where it is because it is Skull Island, and there is, of course, one man who rules it all, and that is King Kong. And as they have been trying to make their way across this island so that they can get back to a way to get off the island, they have come into contact with everything and anything that you may have heard of. All the different crazy kaiju and monsters that could possibly live on Skull Island have come for them, and they are slowly dwindling their forces as they try to go on. This is really just an absolute, like, fun, Kong book where you're like, he's always looming in the background. You want to root for, you don't really know who you're rooting for. Like, you're like, oh, I kind of hope these soldiers make it out. And then you're like, I kind of really wanted to see Kong be Kong and, like, take out monsters and do stuff. You've got you've got all of those elements. Like, if you're one of those people who's like, I'm at the kaiju movie for the kaiju battles, you're gonna get that. If you're one of the people who's like, I'm here to see the people overcome obstacles, you're gonna get that. And if you're one of the people who's like, I want to see the bad people get smushed by the monsters, you're gonna see that too. So whichever way you like your Kong story to play out, you're gonna get a little bit of all of that in there. The North Valley Grimoire, issue 4 from Massive Publishing. This is one of my favorite stories that Massive has done. This is about a grimoire, which is a magical spell book, if you don't know. And it was owned by a boy who was like his best friend was a girl, and they went to a boarding school together, and he suddenly disappears. And then they find him dead before the story ever even starts, and she's very upset about it. And one day she looks under her bed and she's found this book that she never knew was there. It's from him. It's a grimoire. It's got spells in it. She's now started to learn magic from that book because for some reason she can open it and read it. We know eventually why. Actually, we find out in this book. But on the flip side, or at the same time, there is a man whose job it is to keep techno magic out of the hands of the wrong people, and who kind of just works as a spy for the CIA, but he is doing it all for magical purposes. And he is supposed to be finding this grimoire, which is the most powerful book and artifact that anybody can find. And so their stories have finally crossed paths in this issue, and we get to see all of the people who are coming for her, and all of the reasons why he needs to protect her, and all of the things that she is learning are going to come into very, very big pieces of the puzzle very soon. So if you haven't started it yet, you should jump in, especially if you love detective and witch books. Like if you like Secret Service from Vault, or Black Magic from Greg Rucka and Nicholas Scott over at Image. If you liked any of those kinds of stories, you really want to pick this up. If you like Constantine stories, this is, kind of a young adult version of that. So, like young adult in age of the characters, but not really, because we have the whole adult story. So it's one of those that kind of blend together. I would definitely say this is more like your teen plus story at this point, teen plus. But it's been so much fun. I really love it. I can't wait to see where it goes and how we're gonna defeat these evil bad guys and all the magic she's going to learn. But also, it always does really cool homage covers like all Massive books do, and so you get this Wednesday homage cover for this one. Prometheus in Chains, issue 4 from Red 5 Comics. If you liked Oppenheimer and you like Frankenstein and you thought, how could I put those two things together? This is the book that does that. We have doctors Victor and Elizabeth Frankenstein are actually brought over at the time when we are working on, everything that Oppenheimer built. And they are put on his team, and they are helping him do that. In the process, Elizabeth gets really, really sick, and Victor is worried he's going to lose her, which of course he does. And Victor's like, I can't let that happen. So he starts to try to put her back together again. Instead of Frankenstein's monster, we get a little bit more of a Victor Fries. And we see him kind of try to save his wife, and we see how terribly wrong that can go. And one of the best things that this book has done so far is Victor has no idea if it's real or not. He's had so many drunken escapades and so many angry dreams and bad memories that he doesn't actually know if he's really brought Elizabeth back to life, or if he's kind of created this illusion in his head. And you're getting a really great version of Frankenstein in a more modern world on every page. And so check it out if you're fans of Frankenstein. You have to read it. Gunbreed issue 4 from Blood Moon Comics. So last week I was like, they said there was an issue 4. They said it was coming soon, possibly next week, but this feels like the end. Well, guess what? I was wrong. There's more. But this more actually takes us back to the beginning. We've been following a cowboy who was, he lost his wife and son, and he has been in hell and trying to like work essentially like Spawn, like Gunslinger Spawn, I guess, because he's old Western version of Spawn. But he's been on this mission to like work for the Collector of Souls, the devil, whichever one you want to call it. But now we're actually getting this story of his wife. And so we see the inventions that she makes and the things she does. And one night while she is working on her inventions, she decides to stay behind and falls asleep in the barn where she works. And a man comes who attacks her and is like, I'm here to steal your dreams. Very almost like Rumpelstiltskin-esque. I'm here to steal your dreams. I'm here to steal the life growing inside of you and everything. And whatever I can take from you, I'm going to take it. And we kind of see what it is that makes the wife's story happen. And we get it from both sides. Like, we get it from that third person general comic experience. And then we get the wife telling us how that story played out for her. So we get her point of view, which is really cool because we haven't had anybody else's point of view in this story yet. And so getting to see a story from two different ways was actually a really cool way to do it. And they both go a little bit further with the perspective that they're following. But I don't want to show you too much because there's so many cool twists and turns that I really liked it. I'm going to pull this over for a second so you can see what we're drinking today, because I'm going to take another drink. It's so good. It's so clean, like you said earlier. And this is Montepulciano. I can't say the second word again without hearing it. D'Abruzzo. All right.
But it's a Belposto is the name of
is the company.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Belposto is the company.
Yeah.
And that means beautiful place. I looked that. That's on the back of the bottle. I don't actually just know Italian.
A Montepulciano is a type of wine.
No, Montepulciano D'Abruzzo is a type of wine, the whole thing. That came up when I was doing a search on how to say it. Like, this is like a whole style of red wine. It's very good. Again, it's not, I usually like spicier wines, and it's not really, it doesn't really fall in one or the other. Like, it's not too spicy, but it's not sweet at all at the same time.
Yeah, the Montepulciano is like a Cabernet, and the D'Abruzzo is like a Sauvignon or the Blanc or the Franc.
Oh, thank you. That's a great way to break that down.
Nobody heard.
No, but you were, if you didn't hear Matt, he was saying like, Montepulciano is like saying Cabernet, and then D'Abruzzo is like saying Franc or Sauvignon or whatever addition to your Cabernet you have. All right, we're going to go back into it. Up next, we have Trakovi, the Schlub with No Remorse, issue 3 from Scout Comics. And so far, I was like, ooh, this is one of those books where you're supposed to root for somebody who's absolutely vile, because the main character is supposed to be like a recovering kind of villain, I guess. Kind of hero, not really an anti-hero, kind of a villain. But he was like, oh, I'm gonna, like, it was like everybody was, I had to put that because I'm like, everybody is like crazy violent, crazy violent. He, like, in the first issue, we're supposed to be okay with him, but he, like, blew up a bus, and it was like, why are we cheering for this guy? And the first 2 issues, I was like, I don't know if I can keep going because this guy is so terrible. And then we learned in this issue why he's so terrible. And what actually happened. And there is such a twist in this that I was like, whoa, have I been judging this entire character in this entire series off of like a mistrusted narrator? And I am all in for unreliable narrators. And I was so shocked and so surprised to find out that basically like that was the entire experience with this, that I was like, huh. Issue 3, way to go. We always say that, you know, the Shann Rule of 3, you got to read up to the 3rd issue because that's where the turn's going to be. And this one turned big. And so we find out that all of these recovering superheroes and villains, or I guess all these recovering villains who have been going to like an AA kind of program for their villainy, they're all starting to die. We learn why and how in this issue. And woo, completely different story coming your way for the rest of this arc. So, you know, it is, you're not gonna, I still not necessarily cheering for anybody, but I did learn why they are the way they are, and it definitely made the whole story completely different. And I'm curious now to see where it goes. I gotta see how this plays out. Now I'm invested in these characters because I feel like we just went on a journey together. The Blackout Bombshell, issue 3 from Sumerian Comics. Speaking of characters that I don't think you're supposed to like, and yet you find yourself rooting for, this is the story of a detective who is hired to find a woman, and he doesn't even remember that happened because he gets way too drunk all the time, blacks out, is left at his apartment or his office, and he's like, I guess I'm supposed to find some woman now, and wakes up, and in like the very first 3 pages of the very first issue, the woman walks into his office and says her name, and he's like, why do I know that name? And he's like, oh yeah, I was hired to find you. Mission solved, done that. And so the first issue actually works the case backwards, because he's like, I have no idea how I got to this point and how I solved this case. And then the second issue kind of leads him down a little bit more of that rabbit hole and onto that adventure of trying to solve it. And this issue starts out with him being told, you solved it, you did it, here's your money, congratulations. And he runs into a woman in a bar, and she's like, don't you even want to know, like, what the case is about that you didn't actually do anything for? And he's like, nope, got my money, got way more money than I expected to get, don't really care. And she's like, but what if there was more to this story? And he's like, still don't care. And then I love it because suddenly we have a new narrator and we get the story. Like, it says the story that he doesn't care about, and it tells us the actual story of what happened. And it's such an interesting way to do a detective story, because everybody is actually a part of the story except for the detective. And it's been such a good book. And if you haven't picked it up yet and you are a fan of noir or crime stories, and you want to see, like, what if somebody just completely was terrible in the genre and completely, like, kind of oblivious to their own role, Blackout Bombshell is going to be great for that. Edenwood, issue 2 from Image Comics. Number 1 of this was a pick of the week for me. And I'm honestly, like, it's such a great concept. This is a world where witches and demons have been fighting each other in a war for a really long time. And that war just keeps continuing to spread further and further into the human realm. And if part of that war basically encompasses your area, you become a part of that, and time becomes, like, shifts and moves, and it's all kinds of crazy. And so we get a bunch of kids who are out in the woods, and one of them is trying to do something nice for his girlfriend, and in the process the war spreads into their area, and they're all sucked into the Edenwood, the mysterious, like, realm of this, and now they must fight their way out of it. But the crazy thing is that they've all been brought to different time periods. They've all taken on different roles. Some of them have become demon slayers, some of them have become witches, some of them have possibly died. We don't really know. Some of them are on the side of the demons. And so we get to see a really crazy, really well-designed fantasy world open up to all of the darkest corners while these kids are trying to figure out how to find each other. And of course, this one guy is just really trying to find the love of his life. He wants to save her in the same way he wanted to save her and give her the world and ended up leading her to this. If you are a fan of Nocterra, this is Tony S. Daniel, who wrote Nocterra with Scott Snyder on this book, and it is going to be one where by the time issue 5 goes around, everybody's going to start talking about it, and you're going to be like, why didn't I get that issue? And you're going to miss it. So don't do that. Grab this, especially if you're a fan of really dark fantasies. I feel like this is one where, as we see more and more of the world unfold, it's just going to get darker. And the character design has been so cool for everybody that they've revealed so far. So I cannot wait to see where this goes. Acolyte, issue 2 from Concrete Comics. We had issue 1 of this, I think, a little over a month ago, and it started with a young boy who made his decision to kind of, like, accept some superpowers because he felt like he didn't do what he needed to do to save the day when his sister was in trouble. And now we are seeing him take on that role of kind of grown into it, more of an adult at this point. You know, years since the origin story, probably. And he is living in the city and trying to help the city stand up to all of the bad people that come in, whether that's superheroes, super powered bad guys, or just regular people who are bringing the crime in all of the worst ways. And he's still trying to balance that out by being confident in his day job, which is helping out as a record studio, and he's trying to get people, to break in the positive way too. He wants to help people grow and create and do wonderful things, and at the same time stand up and keep his neighborhood safe. Such a cool character. I cannot wait to see where this story goes, because he's just got that positive, like, I'm gonna do what it takes to keep the neighborhood safe. I can't worry about the whole world, but as long as I can work on like this one space that is really suffering right now, maybe I can make a difference. Simon Says, issue 2 from Blood Moon. Issue 1 of Simon Says was such a big book. Everybody was really freaking out about the craziness of this, like, duplicitous nature of Simon, who was hearing voices and was murdering a bunch of people. And I'm just going to show you, because, I mean, it's gross and gruesome, and Simon is crazy, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. This is the continuation of that, and so we start to see a little bit more of where those voices in Simon's head are coming from, and what Simon is going to have to do in order to kind of fall away from that or into that, and kind of see those choices that Simon makes when he's able to control it. Because that is the whole thing, is that, like, can Simon get to the point where he can control the voices in his head, or is he gonna, I'm trying to see something that's not, like, too much of a spoiler, or, is he just gonna be a crazy serial killer? And we're gonna see how that plays out as you go through an issue 2. Not quite as, like, crazy, like, weird, where is he going kind of thing. Like, now we kind of know where Simon's going, but getting to, like, still see it play out continues on that violent streak of his. Drive Like Hell, issue 2 from Dark Horse Comics. This is about a couple that robbed a bank and then stole a car, and it just so happened that the car that they stole belonged to the devil. And he isn't very happy to have lost his car to these people. And so now they are trying to figure out how to get away from these demons that are chasing them. And they end up, in this issue, driving into a revival that is happening. And it is one of those, like, televangelists. Like, there's no way this guy has any, like, real connection with what is going on in the spirit world, but at the same time the demons are like, we can't go in there, that guy's connected. And they're like, connected to who? And they're like, doesn't really matter, still can't go in there. And so they're trying to lure the couple out. The couple is the televangelist is trying to keep them and the money they stole in his facility, and the two people are just trying to figure out whether or not they can control this car and keep it on their side long enough to survive. Just a really crazy off-the-wall adventure, and there's a little extra twist that comes in with, like, what happened, like, what is going on with the girl in the relationship right now, and if you haven't picked it up yet, you should pick it up just to find that out. Giant Robot Hellboy, issue 2 of 3 from Dark Horse. Again, before I even tell you anything about it, you don't have to know anything about Hellboy at all. You don't need to know anything in the universe. In fact, you don't even have to know who Hellboy is for this one. This one's the most unrelated of all of them. Matt shaking his head, I'm guessing you read it.
I did. Look at that cover.
Look at that cover.
I've kind of zoomed in.
Oh my gosh.
It's a robot Hellboy being surrounded by an octopus.
It's a robot Hellboy surrounded by an octopus. Basically, this story kind of works in the same way that Mechagodzilla works. Somebody has essentially kidnapped Hellboy and is taking his consciousness and putting it into a mecha Hellboy. And they have sent that to an island to fight demon kaiju, essentially. And at the same time, some members of the BRPD are kind of trying to figure out why they're doing this and how they're doing this. And they're doing all the research to figure it out. But seriously, guys, this is just about a giant robot Hellboy fighting giant demon kaiju. At the end of the day, that's what you're getting. That's what you wanted. You didn't know you wanted it, but now that you got it, that's what you wanted, and there it is. It's only 3 issues long, so if you're like, I don't want to get into a 100-issue run of Hellboy, doesn't matter. Just pick up these 3 issues and watch giant mecha Hellboy fight giant demon kaiju. The end. Comic books. You can do anything you want in a comic, and it's wonderful. Slow Burn, issue 2 from Boom Studios. This story is going to be so tragic in so many ways that you're not expecting. And it's not there yet, but I know it's coming. And it started with this couple who, this couple of people, or I guess there's 3 of them. These people who stole a violin. And they took the violin away from the woman's family. And it's kind of like, we had to get away, we had to run away. And they kind of end up in a place that's very Silent Hill-esque. And the woman that takes them in, that they like run into her house and they're like hiding in there, is like, yeah, there's nobody here. Like, there's nobody left in this town. There's nothing going on. Like, I don't know why you're here. You should leave here. This place is like really dangerous. And in this issue, the woman who stole the violin and the woman who they are staying with are walking around the city, and while the girl is telling her about her life and why she needed to get away and why she needed to take this violin, the other girl is telling her, like, it's remembering her own life and remembering all the bad things that happened in this town, and is still like, hey, like, this isn't really a place that anybody should be, and I wish I would have gotten out when I had the chance, but I can't leave now. Like, I can never leave this place, and you should have left this place when you had a chance. And so I have a feeling that, we're going to find out something dark is lingering beneath the surface of this town, and I'm really, really curious where this is going. And also, we're going to find out that this violin has some kind of supernatural powers. I'm almost certain of it. Everything that this series is building towards is going to reveal itself in some kind of twist, probably in the next issue, because it is only a 5-part series, but I cannot wait to see what it actually is. It's a slow burn. We might not know until the last issue. They put it in the title. It could take a while, or we could never know. I'm going to take another drink really fast before I get to number 1. All right. Kicking off our number 1s, we've got Space Truckin' number 1 from Opus Comics. And this is part of the Opus original sci-fi thing that they just kicked off. So not a band comic this time. We are coming up with our own content here. And this is about a woman who's in a prison. It's kind of like the one in Guardians of the Galaxy, honestly. And there's all these space aliens in the prison with her. And essentially the warden comes to her and is like, hey, I need this mission to take place. I need this stuff stolen. I'll let you build a team. And if you do this job that I need to happen, I won't send anybody after you. And she's like, how can I trust you? And he's like, you can't. And she's like, well, if I leave, then I'm going to be on the run forever. And he's like, yeah, probably. And she's like, well, then why would I do it? And he's like, how else are you going to get out? And she's like, good point. All right. And so she ends up trying to build her team. You get your regular prison fights. You get some information. You get some things going on. And then, you get your backstab and you get your story building. And you get some plans on whether or not escape is possible, necessary. And we're going to see where this adventure takes them, because obviously they are trucking through space, so we're going to see what that means for them as we go on. Bless you. And it's a big, like, almost, like, double-sized issue, so if you're looking for a good issue for the value, that's definitely going to have double the fun in it. Up next, we have The Sire, Lost in Time from Drin Productions, and this is Mike Books is the imprint on there, and this is issue 1. However, this is issue 1 of this new volume. There is a previous The Sire Revelations, which is in trade paperback form, and we do have it. So if you're, which we'll talk about in a minute, but if you're like, I don't know what this character is, you're gonna figure it out. But it's kind of like, he's kind of like a Clark Kent. He works for the newsroom. He has a best friend who is not his girlfriend. In fact, she used to date his brother, but she's essentially the Lois Lane. And his superpower is like, anytime there's danger, his suit comes up and just attaches to, like, it just appears on him, and he has to go face against these people. And the whole thing is that he is trying to find, like, he goes to people and is like, oh, this is you have superpowers, you're a bad guy, whatever, you don't deserve superpowers. And he essentially sucks their superpowers away from them and, like, returns them to the universe. And he's at the point now where if he disappears, like, his boss is going to fire him. You know, we've come into this where it's, like, already established. He can't go and fight anybody else. And he, unfortunately, has no choice, and is going to have to go fight some people in this one. And we're going to learn a little bit more about how that power works as he does that, and whether or not everybody that he meets, he has to take their power from, and whether or not he can. And again, there's a trade paperback for the first part of, for the first volume if you need it. But honestly, like, as somebody who didn't read, I'm going to hold this up, I'm talking about somebody who didn't read the Sire Revelations trade paperback, like, I started here, and it kind of felt like the first couple of pages, I was like, I have no idea what's going on, should I keep going? And then I just was like, you know what, I'm going to keep going. And then I was like, oh, I totally have the entire story now. Because they give you the exposition over time instead of just giving it to you all in one, like, info dump. There is the little, you know, impresium that has all the information at the very beginning, but it also just naturally flows through the story. Nadia and the Nomobots, issue 1 from Opus Comics. This story went in so many directions. I was not, I didn't know what to expect about this story. But we are in a world where we are in a world that's run by robots, and they have basically kept humans around just to use them to create drugs and things like that at this point. And so Nadia is a woman who lives inside of a facility that the robots use to harvest, I'm not joking, emo pills. And so she is, they take all of her, like, upset emotions and things like that and essentially create these drugs that they can sell so that robots can have feelings. And somebody has called in to the police that they are basically, you know, experimenting on humans, which they're not allowed to do, and they have unfair living and working conditions. And Nadia and two of the robots help Nadia escape, and they're like, don't worry, we'll keep you safe, like, we're gonna take these emo pills, and honestly, like, if you help us create more, we can all live, like, this really lavish life. And they go on their adventure, and Nadia kind of has to decide, like, does she want to stay with the robots? Does she want to try it on her own? Are these robots good guys? Are they bad guys? Can you ever trust a robot? And we're gonna see how all of that kind of starts to play out as the series unfolds. Again, it's issue 1, and we've got a lot of world building that's happened in this very first issue. So, and a lot of characters. You know, I feel like we know at least 3 characters really, really strongly, but we also kind of know all the different, like, people and types of robots that we're going to see as the story unfolds in this process too. Okay, so if you were paying attention recently, you saw that Sumerian brought out an American Psycho book, and they kind of, like, jumping into these movie books. Well, guess what? Now they brought us Basic Instinct. And this is Basic Instinct Pounded Flesh, issue 1 from Sumerian Comics. And I had a guy this week go, Basic Instinct, the only movie I know about called Basic Instinct is that Sharon Stone movie. Is this the same thing? Yes, this is the same thing. But I don't know if any, like, I don't know, like, I feel like American Psycho was kind of a prequel. I don't really know where this one is going to fall, because I haven't seen Basic Instinct since 1997. 1992? When did that movie come out? Whenever that movie came out, that's when I saw it. 94, 95, yeah. But this story starts with a really, like, interesting opening, because it shows this woman who is an entertainer, and she's working with this snake, and it kind of just is doing this narration that's talking about how you can't really trust working with like creatures or with people, and like what thievery is like and what humans that you connect with is like. Like the narration on this is just an absolutely like great story. And it's one of those where you actually need to look at the pictures like perfectly as you go through, because it's like, well, you know, when you're working with an animal, you know, like you have to remember that they are in fact just an animal, and that even though, you know, you think you've got them trained, like instinct takes over. And so it gives us this like duality of the concept of instinct as we go into this story. And then we come to an investigation room where we are investigating somebody for a murder who swears he had nothing to do with it. He knew nothing about it. And he's like, you don't know anything more than I do to the cops, which sounds like none of us know anything. We as readers don't really know much of anything either. And so this kind of sets us up for a really big world of a lot of murders and a lot of interesting things going on. But it's 100% already set up that nobody that we've met is trustworthy, and whoever we are talking to on the phone or we're having these interactions with behind the scenes is possibly the ringleader and the most untrustworthy of all. So if you are a fan of Basic Instinct, check it out. If you have never seen it, maybe this is your start point. 92. Hey. Up next, we have a new splatter western one-shot from Dead Sky, which is The Bone Tribe. And in this was so creepy fun. In this story, we are in the Old West, and we've got a gang of, like a posse of thieves. And they are on the run from the sheriff and all the lawmen after they've, like, robbed a bank or a train, or both. And they are, like, they're like, if we can just get to Mexico, like, we'll be safe. And it's gonna be great. That's all we have to do. And of course, one of them is hurt, so they're like, we can't keep going. We've got to stop in like whatever the next town is. And they're like, no, because if we stop, we're gonna get caught. Well, they end up coming upon a town, and they're like, I didn't know this town was here. And the one guy is like, I can't go any further. So they stop in the town, and they take the one guy to the doctor. And then the other ones are like, well, I guess we'll just enjoy, the town a little bit. Is that okay? And so they each, one goes to the saloon, one goes to the hotel, one goes to the brothel, and we kind of see these three guys kind of trying to just enjoy life and their experiences while they wait for their friend. And meanwhile, the friend in the doctor's office is suddenly being torn apart. And something crazy is happening, and we start to learn that there is more to this town than these guys could have ever known. And they are like, the story that comes out and the thing that happens for the second half of the book is so much. I don't want to tell you any of it, but if you're looking for a good horror story in the Old West, all done in black and white, and you want just like a one-shot and you don't want to have to read another issue, you just want to be one and done, good classic horror in the Old West, this is going to be a great one for you. Check it out. The Bone Tribe. It gets creepy. I could definitely see a nice like creep show episode coming out of that for sure. This Little Piggy #1 from Scout Comics with this Marco Fontanelli cover. Look at that awesome cover. Oh my gosh. If I was in the store, if I didn't own the store, so I didn't order this book myself, and I just went into the store and I saw this cover, this would definitely be a book I would pick up off the shelf, because I'd be like, that is so creepy. I gotta know what it is.
I'm just leaving it on it.
I know. You're like, this is the rest of the live stream. We're only staring at this cool picture. This is about a boy who is in high school. And the whole day, he's, of course, getting bullied by absolutely everybody. He loves the most popular girl in school. She kind of is nice to him, but, like, not in that, like, I'm interested kind of way. And the whole time, he is like, you know what, it's fine. I'm just going to go out of town with my dad this weekend. It's our hunting trip. I've been waiting forever for this. I finally get to go with him. I don't care. Whatever happens, like, after this, it won't matter anymore. And then at the same time, everybody else is going to a party, and he finds out that the girl that he likes is actually going on a family vacation into a cabin at the lake. And he's like, Yes. Oh my gosh. I will also be at this lake. Maybe we could hang out. And of course she kind of was like, oh yeah, haha, and then like blows them off. And then the two do intersect their stories at the lake. And so I'm going to tell you, if you want to see how those stories intersect and why those stories intersect and who this little piggy is going to be, you're going to have to pick up issue 1 and you're going to have to read it. And you got to grab this Marco Fontanelli cover because it's just amazing and wonderful. But also get your horror on. Scout's always got some great horror, and this is no exception. This is going to be a really cool story. And give us more Marco covers. In fact, there is actually another book coming out from Scout that I just ordered today that's a nonstop book. So there's only going to be the first issue, and then it'll go to the trade paperback. But it is like one of those like Universal Monsters kind of found footage film kind of movies that we're getting, like stories that we're getting. And if you follow Marco, you saw that he did a lot of Universal Monsters drawings, and we're going to see some of that come into play on one of the covers of that issue. And I actually just ordered a bunch so that I could frame one. I was just going to get one like slabbed for myself to hang up next to my our Universal Monsters section because it would look so dope in there. Barbaric, Wrong Kind of Righteous. This is a one-shot from Vault in our Barbaric universe. So if you've been following along with Barbaric, you know that it is the story of Owen, who is a barbarian who has a talking axe named Axe, who they are both cursed that Axe can, gets drunk off the taste of blood, and Owen can only kill people and attack people who are doing wrong, and he can only do so if somebody asks for his help. Over the last arc and a half, I guess, of Barbaric, we haven't really been following Owen, though. We've kind of been following Soren, who is Necromancer, and then we just had the Queen of Swords, which was following everybody else in the story, who's following the other women of the story as they went on their own adventure. And so this kind of takes us back to what could possibly be a story that would have taken place on Soren and Owen's adventures in the very early days of their time together. And Axe and Owen are trying to get a cheeseburger. They're really Owen's just hungry, and he keeps ordering a cheeseburger, and every time they take it back, it's gone for and it takes another hour for him to get his burger. And he finally is about to eat, and somebody calls for help, and he realizes this burger has pickles on it anyway, so he sends it back while he goes to help the people. And he finds out that there's a guy who is like, oh, I have to rid the world of all this evil, and I need help doing that. And so he starts helping them, only to find out that this guy isn't who he says he is. And he also has a talking weapon, and they must now figure out what side that they are going to be on this, and what the actual right side is and what the wrong side is, and kind of solve this problem. And they must do it all before Owen's cheeseburger is ready, because the man needs a burger, and he's going to be really mad if his burger isn't ready when he gets back. It's a one-shot. It's just a hilarious adventure. Anytime Axe is in the story and it focuses on just Axe and Owen attacking people, always a fun time. Squish and Squash. Ugh. Squish and Squash, issue 1 from Keenspot. This is kind of a cute little all-ages book about two adorable creatures who live in space, and they are cadets at an academy trying to be like space rangers essentially, and they want to get their role where they can help people. And they have been trying so hard to pass their test, and every time they take the test they fail, and they're at the point where they just keep getting sent on like save a cat from a tree kind of missions, because they're not allowed to actually help people because they can't pass their test. And while they're on one of those missions, they end up helping a whole entire cruise ship of people in space who are in danger. And instead of them being like, oh, you guys did a great job, like, you can move on and be a part of the Ranger Academy, they're like, well, now you get one chance to take your test, and if you fail, we're just going to kick you out, because how dare you like try to save people and be in the way. And so they have to pass their test and work together, and they use some information that has always been kind of hidden to them to solve the case in the best way they can. It's just really cute, and it's opening up a whole new series of books for Squish and Squash, and I cannot wait to see this little elephant and this little cat just keep going on together. Tales of the Bazaar issue 1 from Dren Productions. I think this is going to also be a one-shot. If not, it might be like an anthology series. But this is the story of a woman and a man who are astronauts, and they land in space. And when they get to this place, they're like trying to figure out where they're going to put their colony, and they're like, oh, this is going to be the perfect spot for it. Let's build it right here. And as they're sitting there talking about it, they're scanning for any kind of life, and something happens, and they're one of the pieces of their spaceship just falls off, and they're like, that's really weird. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it, we can fix it tomorrow, it's getting too dark. And woman, the astronaut, goes into the room, and she's like, okay, fine, let's go sleep. Wakes up in the middle of the night and was like, I have to check this out, only to find more pieces of the spaceship are just actually being taken apart. And they're like, where are we? There's messages suddenly showing up that are like, you have to get out of here, leave now before it's too late. And they are trying to figure out who these space aliens that are attacking them might be, and where these messages are coming from, and the fun little twist of who it is and how that plays out is something I'm not going to ruin for you, but this is a one-shot, like I said. So if you just want a quick little creepy alien story, this is definitely a good one for that. Eden Frost, issue 1 from Mad Cave. This is a new series launching from them. Most Mad Cave series these days are usually about 4 or 5 issues. So this will be a good one to jump on if you're looking for a fresh new story. But this is about 2 kids who, it's during World War II. And I think it's World War II. And 2 kids that are trying to get away because their village has been burned. And people are coming for them. You know that the soldiers are going to come get them. And they are running through the woods. And they know it's dangerous. And the brother will not acknowledge what has happened. And it's just kind of like, we have to keep moving. We don't have time to sit here and talk about it. We're going to freeze to death if we don't get out of these woods. And the sister's like, I know he knows. I know he saw the creature that saved us. I know he saw that without the 2 of us, like, both working together, like, we wouldn't have made it. And this whatever it was that helped us, we need to find it, and we need to have it with us, and we need to find a way to maybe build a home again and find a place to live. And she is narrating this for all of us to see while he is kind of trying to lead them through. And everywhere they turn, there's more soldiers, there's more danger, and whether or not they're going to make it out of the snow, and they are going to find a place that they can be safe, and whether or not that creature is just a part of the girl's imagination, or whether or not he's really there for them, is going to be something I think we're going to see as the story continues. But this is going to end up being a very beautiful story, and I heard them talk about this on the Mad Cave panel at New York Comic Con. And this story is gonna absolutely be fantastic. Everything they had to say about it, I'm ready to just cry.
They've been pushing it hard.
They've been pushing that one really hard, and I can see why it's such great writing. And it's an own voices story. It's someone who really wanted to tell like an experience that they had in this form, like their family had in their story. I'm gonna butcher this. Mundos Tenebras. It's where I grew up in a house where people spoke Spanish all the time, and I'm like the worst Spanish speaker in the world. This is also from Blood Moon Comics, and for those of you who like religious horror books, this is definitely going to be one to add to your pull list. This is all about a man who is a priest who is supposed to be working as an exorcist, and he does an exorcism, and then he comes back, and basically like nobody is helpful. Like the priests are all just kind of rude, and nobody is supportive, and they're kind of just like, oh well, we don't really need to, like, you failed and like the girl died, but I mean, it's fine, whatever, who cares? And so he needs to get away, and he ends up going to a bar where he meets a demon who's like, hey, the church that you're working for is corrupt. Everything that you've been told is a lie. I can prove it all to you if you really want to know. And she takes him to this warehouse the next, like, it's like meet me at this warehouse next day, and she takes him and shows him the underside essentially of the world that he is working in, and I can't show you that page, and it really messes with his mind. And so now he's like, could it be that like this demon is actually better? Is she leading me down a wrong path? Should I go against what I've been taught to believe all this time? And so we are going to kind of see him wake up to some truths that he doesn't want to face, and we're going to see how that all comes to play out. And of course, can you trust the demon any more than you can trust the people right in front of you? We're going to find out, but I am definitely in to see where that goes. Vectors, number 1 from Scout, and this is a nonstop book as well. And this was so much of a fun sci-fi story, like, and not like funny, I mean like the adventure is going to be good, and it was so well written that I actually almost made this a pick of the week, and I don't even really normally do that with sci-fi books, but this is all about a group of scientists, NASA, government workers kind of thing. Something crash lands on our planet, and they're like, oh my gosh, we have to set up a perimeter, we have to get it in, and so they take it and pull it out of the ground, only to realize that it is an American spaceship. And when they open it up in their facilities, they realize that this was a spaceship that was on a quest that has never been talked about in American history, where when in the 70s, when nobody kind of cared about the space program anymore, and they wanted to build out that space experience, they tried to send a manned mission to Mars. And this is the manned mission to Mars. And these astronauts never made it there, and they never made it back until now. And they are somehow still inside this spaceship, and they are trying to figure out what is going on, what is inside there. Is it really them? Could it be something else? What brought it all on? Why did it come back now? What is happening? And the setup for all of it was so good. Who knows what's going to come out of this? I think it's going to be fantastic, though. Nonstop. So again, you read this issue, and then you grab a whole graphic novel that's going to contain the whole thing. And another one where I'm like, I could have gone either way. Like, single issues would definitely be a great way to build the suspense of this story for sure. But I'm also like, I'm glad I get to hear the whole story all at one time once this does come out. But the intensity of it it's definitely going to build really nicely. All right, so we've got some picks of the week right here. This covers is very racy, so I'm going to show it to you very quickly. But we've got Crave, number 1, from Image Comics and Maria Lovett. Did you say him?
I just want to zoom in.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because from far away it's fine, you know. But, yeah, so this is Maria Lovett's new book, and basically it is about a school full, like a college, high school, boarding school, one of the two, I think it's college age, though. It is definitely college age. I had to think about what the school was called. Anyway, there is this new app that all the kids wake up, and there is an app on their phone that is like, hey, this is just for your school, and it is the Crave app. I have to check like every page. It is the Crave app, and basically tell us what you crave, and we'll make it happen. And all of these kids start putting in what they crave the most. And of course, for college kids, it's usually like dating somebody else, or wanting to be famous or popular or whatever, wanting to break up with somebody, wanting to date somebody else. And all of these people start doing it, and what's really crazy is like some of them do these really elaborate stunts, and suddenly like the person they're in love with loves them, or they get the grade that they want, or this is why I was like, it's definitely college, because there's a whole lecture hall. But they start doing that, and every once in a while somebody will put in what they crave, and the app will turn around and say, you have a less than like 11% chance of getting what you crave. Please try another thing. And so we're following these two boys, and one of them, of course, is like, I want to do this because I know what I crave. Like, I really just want this girl to pay attention to me. And the other one is like, I don't know about this app. Like, it's weird. And then he gets a letter that's like, whatever you do, don't use the Crave app, from his roommate, who's like, I have to go. They're all trying to find me. This is dangerous. Like, I need to get out of here. And they're like, what's going on? And he's like, just don't use the app, whatever you do. And we're going to see what happens when you use it. And It's definitely one of those that's like, you know, this is dangerous. Like the second they set it up, you're like, this is going to be dangerous. This is going to be a bad idea. And yet everybody is dumb and is doing it. And you're like, this is going to play out really, really terrible. And yet I can't turn away from the decisions and the twists and turns and the mind games that everybody's playing and like what's going to happen on these people. Maria Lovett makes really great dark stories. And this is going to be another one. Obviously, only for adults, judging by the fact that I can't show you half of the pages in the book. And then but if you are an adult and you're looking for a really a dark, modern kind of horror story, you're going to get a good one in that. And speaking of dark stories, all of my picks of the week this week are dark. The Devil That Wears My Face issue 2 from Mad Cave. I have been waiting for this issue. I'm so excited for this series. You know, David Pepos was on a panel, the Mad Cave panel at New York Comic Con, and he was saying, you know, he wanted to do this crazy dark exorcism story that was basically like The Exorcist meets Face Off. And he needed a good time period, so he put it in the Spanish Inquisition, and it just kind of gave such a cool story. And it really is. This is a priest who goes to do an exorcism in the very first issue, and he is constantly battling this demon, and he cannot defeat him. And, you know, I just told you it's The Exorcist meets Face Off, so some... you know, crazy things happen, and now we've got essentially a demon running around the Vatican while we already have a sick pope and a lot of mistrust and alliances being broken and reformed. And during the Spanish Inquisition, so of course nobody trusts anybody as it is already, and we are trying to see if there is a way to stop this evil that is running through the streets, as essentially, of the Vatican and within the walls of it. And it's dark, it's well written, it's a crazy story, and we're just, you know, you get your little bits and pieces of everything that you could want in this story, in like that horror, but you also get the action, you also get the adventure, you get this again, like this religious turmoil, you get the Spanish Inquisition, you get some really crazy, like, dark art. It's going to be a great mini-series. If you are a fan of any of those things, you should definitely be picking up this book. I cannot wait to see where it goes for sure. Haunted House, a love story, issue 1 from Blood Moon Comics. The creator of this, Winston Gambro, called me a couple months ago and was like, I have this story that is coming out with Blood Moon Comics. I don't know if you get Blood Moon. And I was like, if it's with Blood Moon, I already ordered it. And he was like, well, it's about a haunted house, and it's a love story. And I was like, whatever it is, I'm already in. You sold me on the name, Haunted House, a love story. And that is exactly what this first issue sells us. This is the story of a house narrating the story of it falling in love with the person that built it, who is a man who, you know, he's on his own. He doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have a family. And he just wanted to build this perfect house. And he does. And then he lives within it. And he's on his own. So he just spends all of his time in his house. And they have these wonderful days together. And the house is telling us about how it does all the work to keep him warm and to keep him happy. And how the guy does everything to give him the best days that he can. And then one day, the man falls ill, and the house doesn't know what's going to happen, and he gets nervous, and the man takes care of it by calling a doctor. And then the man and the doctor start to develop a relationship, and the house doesn't like that, and the house wants to stop that. And so we go from this beautiful, happy, wonderful story between a house and the one person that can love him the way he wants to be loved, to a house who will stop at nothing to make sure that nobody gets the man he loves from him. This is not a one-shot. However, had it been, it would have been beautiful and wonderful in and of itself. But the fact that we're going to get 5 more issues of this house and the story that it is going to tell us. I'm so excited. I mean, this is essentially, you know, kind of like we got The Me You Love in the Dark about the ghosts in the house from Scotty Young a couple years ago, and we got that from the woman's point of view. But this is the house itself telling us the story. And if you've ever had a haunted house that you feel like you just can't leave and like the house is like controlling you, you wanted to know what the house is thinking, it's all in this book right here, and it is so well done, and I cannot wait to see those other 5 issues. I'm so excited. And then last pick of the week and last book of the week, Alice Never After, issue 5 from Boom Studios, and this is the wrap-up of this arc of Alice Never After. And Dan Panosian, if you do not give me a 3rd arc of Alice Never After, I will cry forever and ever, because this book is so good, and I need more. In the first volume of Alice Ever After, we had the whole, you know, is Alice really Alice really in Wonderland, or is Alice in an insane asylum? You know, we had the twists and turns of everything that, you know, it could be real, it could not be real, and a lot happened to Alice while she was actually in the asylum that has played into where she is now as we arrive into Never After. And at the end of Alice Ever After, she kind of makes the choice to stay forever in Wonderland. And in this series, this volume, we actually find Alice trapped there, having to choose a husband, and the Cheshire Cat is determined to be the one who makes all of the decisions for Alice. Meanwhile, in the real world, Alice's family is making some decisions without her, based on her mental and physical state, because there's something else that Alice is harboring that nobody knew about until now. And at this point, Alice has to either decide if she's going to stay in Wonderland forever or attempt to find her way back out, because only Alice can reawaken herself in the real world if that's what she chooses to do. And we are seeing Alice kind of have that standoff, not only with herself but with the Cheshire Cat and Wonderland as a whole, as she is the new Queen of Hearts, and we learn all of what that means in this volume, and it is so good. I love this book so much. Seriously, if you're a fan of Alice in Wonderland, whether that's the Disney movie or the actual Lewis Carroll novel series, you need to read this 100%. This is like you have like Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, and then you have Alice Ever and Never After. It's like the next parts of the story. All right, let's see what else came out this week that we've got in stock. We're gonna fly through these. All right. Up first, of course, we have Something Is Killing the Children, issue 35 from Boom Studios. I didn't show you any of it or talk to you about it because there's a lot of spoilers. Because this is the, you know, wrap up of this 5-part of the series, so I don't want to tell you anything about it.
But you got the shirt on.
I got the shirt on though. That was my support. We've got Super Liquid Avatar, which is part of the Phaser universe from Apex Comics. If you come in here, that is in a wrap bag, but we can always take it out if you want to know what that actually is. Static Shadows of Dakota, issue 7. Savage Red Sonja, issue 2. This has been, people are very excited for this Red Sonja series. Frank Miller's Ronin, book 2, is back with issue 5 this week. Power Girl, issue 3. I love how cool she looks with her sunglasses. She kind of looks very Captain Marvel in the like leather bomber jacket. Penguin, issue 4. We've got one of the holiday cards up here just to show you if you didn't know, on the Green Arrow issue 6, and this is a Becky Cloonan holiday card variant cover. You can actually, I'm going to pull this up really fast. The regular covers are on here, so you can actually cut the greeting card off, and then it tells you where to cut on them, and then you can actually send somebody a greeting card that you got on your cover. And somebody said this perfectly today. The average greeting card is between $4.99 and $7.99, and all you get is the greeting card. But for $5.99, you get a greeting card that you can send to your friends and a full 24-page comic. And I thought that was the perfect way to say that. Cyborg, issue 5. Batman Beyond Neo-Gothic, issue 5. I love this cover. It's so cool. Guess who's back? Back again. Howard's back. Tell your friends. Howard the Duck is back. He is celebrating his 50th anniversary. Can you believe that? Howard the Duck. 50th anniversary. And there were some crazy cool covers. We've still got some of them left, so don't miss it. Conan the Barbarian issue 5 is out this week. City Boy issue 6. I know that City Boy, Spirit World, and The Vigil were our 3 new series that came out of Dawn of DC, and so many people are digging those for sure. Berserker Fallen Empire is out. I'm going to take this sticker off for a second so I can show you this foil that I'm not going to touch. This is your new one-shot for Berserker. There were 2. We had the Blood and Roses, I believe it was, and now Fallen Empire. So if you didn't grab this and you're a Berserker fan, don't miss it. Last Ronin is reissuing all of the issues. They don't actually count as second prints. They just count as reissues, which means they're still labeled as first prints. And this is issue 4. Issue 5 will come out next week, and then we will have all 5 issues back in single form. And we all know none of those will last long. So if you don't have them already, now it's time to run out and grab them. Realm of X issue 4, all part of our Fall of X storyline. Amazon's Attack issue 2 is a part of Tom King's new Wonder Woman story that's going on. This is what all the other Amazons are doing. And look at Yada Floor being totally amazing as always. Predator vs. Wolverine issue 3. Don't miss it. This series has been action-packed and full of fun. Teen Titans. The Titans are having a Beast World crossover adventure right now. And this is Teen Titans Beast World #1. And I love this Art Germ Donna Troy cover. It's so pretty. Action Comics issue 1050. Yay, we're back? Okay. Yes, I'm back on the side. Yeah. Okay, so Action Comics 1059. We've been building a whole world with the Super Family, and it is playing out in Action Comics. So Action Comics is kind of like your detective at this point, where you get your Bat Family. Steelworks issue 6. This is the end of the Steelworks story arc. And so if you've been following that with Steel coming back, that is going to be the wrap up. Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi issue 3. This is your TV show adaptation essentially in the comics. Gang War has kicked off this week. We had a Spider-Man Gang War. That was like the start. We also had Miles Morales issue 12, which has a piece of the Gang War story in it, as well as Luke Cage getting a new title that is a part of Gang War. And Spider-Woman is back also for the Gang War story arc in her own mini-series. If you haven't heard about Gang War yet, it is basically a Marvel event that's happening for a lot of your street and spider level heroes, your New York heroes essentially. It is, I'm going to flip this over, it is going to run all the way until March of 2024. So there are quite a lot of titles that you are going to have to pick up. Please let your local comic shop know if you are going to be wanting just your titles that you always get, or if you are going to want everything related to Gang War, because they're already ordering them now. I will tell you, we have ordered through most of January for Marvel already. So if you haven't let your comic shop know yet that you want all your Gang War titles, you need to do it quickly. Because again, seriously, I've already ordered through like January 24th. For final order cutoffs, like for Marvel Comics. So let your comic shop know if you need those, because it is gonna be, they're gonna need to put in some extra orders now if you do. Harley Quinn issue 34. Look at this crazy weird Jenny Prison cover. So crazy. Captain America issue 3 on this relaunch with J. Michael Straczynski on Captain America. I don't think enough people are talking about the fact that J. Michael Straczynski went back to Marvel. Detective Comics issue 1078 with that McFarlane Toys variant cover. Who doesn't want to play with toys and take pictures of them? I mean, seriously, that person's living the dream. Batman, the Brave and the Bold issue 7. I love this cover. The Flash issue 3. This is the Wally West Flash story that we are running right now. Pun intended. Alan Scott, Green Lantern issue 2. I love that we've brought all the JSA people back into their own stories. We've got a Jay Garrick Flash. We've got Wesley Dodd Sandman. We are really building up this JSA. And once again, you've got your McFarlane action figure variant cover. And then we've got some trades in stock. Saga Volume 11 is out this week. So if you're a Saga trade waiter, your newest volume is out. All Eight Eyes is out in trade form from Dark Horse. If you didn't read that, that was one that was Matt's pick of the week for a while. Crazy awesome. I'm gonna show you some. Let me see really fast if I can find like a really cool, like, look at some of that really cool art. That is insane. It was such a crazy book. Crazy spiders taking over New York City and all of the world. You gotta check it out. Sire Revelations, as we talked about, from Jin Productions and their Mike Books imprint. This is the lead into Sire Lost in Time that we talked about. And we've got Street Angels, Princess of Poverty, back in print. You have probably, if you are a Rug fan, you've probably read this before. But this is really cool to see this new edition from Jim Rugg and all of its coolness. But I was so excited. I know so many people who were like, this is such a great book for teens. It's such a great book for girls. It's such a great book for people who are just fans of Jim Rugg. If you haven't read it yet, grab a copy today. Don't forget, we've got a lot going on at the store right now. We are still collecting Toys for Tots. We are going to be doing that through at least through December 15th when we have the Old Manatee Candlelight Christmas going on. All the businesses up and down Old Manatee will be doing something for Christmas for the holidays, fun experiences from 5 to 9 on December 15th. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be over at your Honeycomb. Segunda Vida is going to have somebody making tamales like fresh out there at their location. There's going to be hot Hungarian or warm Hungarian wine, kind of like your wassail kind of experience at Vernona. Edelweiss is bringing something to the table. I believe there's going to be specials at Central Cafe. I know there's a concert at Oscura. We're going to have some cool crafts and things happening here as well. Loving Hands is going to have cookies and possibly other things going on. You're not going to want to miss it. There's going to be stuff all over the neighborhood. It's going to be fun. December 15th from 5 to 9 p.m. And we will be collecting Toys for Tots at least through that day. We will also be selling tickets for a random chance drawing to win the Hobgoblin statue, which I think Matt is getting out of the case right now. So you can check it out if you. It is a beautiful statue. It's a $200 value statue, and it takes only $1 to enter your chance to win. Oh, here it comes. Look at that. Look at that beautiful thing. I don't even want to touch it. This is ASM 238 as a statue, essentially. It's so cool. There you go. Gosh, do you want me to turn it all the way around so you can see the back?
Yeah, I guess you can keep going.
I feel like I'm on the Home Shopping Network, right? I needed a Lazy Susan to put it on for people to see. Look at that. That's crazy. It is as low as $1 to get a random chance drawing ticket to win this. We are doing $1 gets you 1 ticket, $5 gets you 6, $10 gets you 15 tickets, $20 gets you 30 tickets. 30 tickets. And if you do enter to win, even if you don't know that the proceeds from the ticket sales actually go to buy even more Toys for Tots. So we've already had to have them come collect a ton of toys, 2 boxes worth of toys, and some like big items. We had a bike donated today. Thank you so much, everybody in the Bat Fam that's already donated brand new toys. Remember, it's Toys for Tots, so they do need to be new wrapped toys. They can't be used toys or anything like that. So as long as they're new and wrapped, you can take them. But it can be board games. It can be, I think they take books as well. It can be bikes. From bikes to trains to video games. Don't sue me, Toys R Us. You can bring any of those things in, and they, as long as they're new and packaged, they will find a home with some kid who really needs a great Christmas. And again, you could just, if you want to win something in the process, you can buy a random chance drawing ticket to win this guy, and that money will go towards helping us get some more presents for Toys for Tots. Other than that, we've got Ladies and Non-Binary Nerd Night coming up this Thursday at 8 o'clock. Come hang out with us. Again, come and go as you please. It's just a fun hangout day. And then Friday, we will be closing early because at 7 p.m. we are having a subscriber shopping night. Subscribers, if you have a pool list with us, you can bring your friends and family to come in, have some fun. It is a potluck, so bring a dish, bring a drink, bring a dessert, whatever you want to do, or just bring yourself. It'll still be tons of fun, and that starts at 7 for anybody that has a pool list with us. And then Saturday, I will be over at Winter Wonderland in downtown Bradenton, getting the holidays kicked off with them, helping out in the kids section. We'll be making comics, we'll be making crafts, and we'll be reading tons of stories. It's going to be a busy week, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope we're going to see you for any and or all of it, because it's so great when we see you guys every day. Until then, hope you picked up a ton of great books this week so that you have something that you can enjoy. Happy reading, everybody. Make sure you try this Montepulciano D'Abruzzo. I messed that all up that time. But it's delicious. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday for New Comic Book Day. Until then, bye.